I'm sitting here with Matt Higby here at SOE Live in Las Vegas, and we're going to ask him a few questions about PlanetSide 2, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would be the point, right?
I don't know. You can ask me. I know answers about other stuff.
That's cool.
Not a lot of other stuff.
So in a recent stream, you mentioned something about no more footholds in the future, or kind of in the future plans. What did you mean by that exactly? I don't have the exact quote, unfortunately. But
I mean, the thought was that as we progress further and add more and more continents, we won't have each empire have their own foothold warp gate on each continent. We'll actually have maybe one continent where you have a foothold warp gate, and the rest of them are just transition warp gates that actually have to be captured, and then you can move from continent to continent. So you have a little bit more of that continental flow.
Right.
We're not planning on going back to having sanctuaries or anything like that. We would still have one foothold warp gate, essentially, or one kind of sanctuary warp gate per empire, but you wouldn't have all of them on every single one of the continents. We can't really do that until we have more than 3 continents, but it is something that we're planning on doing once we add more and more continents again.
you guys haven't moved any closer to like final numbers on station cache or anything like that for the items. Will we start seeing those before release, or will those be after?
I don't think you're going to see those until after release.
Okay.
We are a little bit closer to where we want to be on them, but yeah, we're probably, because we're not going to make station cache available to spend,
Right.
so we can't really put the prices on the store, because then people would be able to
Right.
buy them. Basically, as soon as we turn on commerce, then that's when the prices can show up and people can actually spend station cache. That's how the system works.
Right.
So if we put the prices on the store,
People will be able to spend it
people
now.
buy stuff, and then the characters get wiped during beta and they get ticked off at us.
And then they lose the item. As far as classes go, have you guys ever considered any type of advanced class? Not necessarily inventory related, but a more customizable, changeable class.
We've talked about it, for sure. I mean, we're making some changes to the way class loadouts work. With the removal of Araxium, we've gotten rid of implants as being their own thing, and implants are going to be moving onto the class loadout itself. So you're actually going to be able to have your suit, your shield, and your implant as 3 different things that you can change out on your class. And that should give you a lot more class customizability, which I think a lot of people want. But we're not really planning on doing ad hoc classes where you can put whatever you want in whatever slot.
Okay, cool. Recently there's been some population issues, a lot of unbalance on the continents. Imbalance, I should say. What are some of the things that you guys are, I know you put population restrictions in and stuff like that, but what have you guys discovered from that? Is it purely based around something like Araxium, or?
Well, I mean, when we removed the passive Araxium game, we started seeing a lot more contention of all the continents. There was a lot less just, oh, we're going to hold on to this continent, because there was no benefit to it anymore. So you wouldn't have 800 NC sitting on Esamir locking the whole thing down. So that helps a lot. Right now, the way that our population caps work is they're a max. So if you're not near the max, but you still have 5 times more people than the other empires do, the population cap isn't really helping solve any kind of problem. But putting in something where you have a dynamic population cap actually has a lot of challenges too, because if my whole outfit wants to move from one continent to another, but there's some dynamic population cap there, that's going to prevent half of us from being able to zone there, because even though there's only 100 people on, or there's 50 people on, and we're trying to keep it within a band where you can't get more than double the number of people on. Now, if you have a giant outfit and you're trying to move them all from one continent to another, you can't really do it. So there's a lot of give and take in there. I think the next step for us is basically to just watch what happens over the next week or two, and especially once we have Amarish in with the 3 continents and the lack of the passive Araxium game, and see how the population stuff feels. It's still always going to be a challenge to be underpopulated, but now we're giving much better rewards when you're underpopulated, so that should be helping you out a lot personally. You're gaining a lot more experience, which means you're gaining more certs. So we'll see. Cool. We'll continue making adjustments as we need to, if we need to.
All right, awesome. Or what certs are left that we haven't seen yet?
There's a couple leadership ones, notably things like the orbital strike. I mean, those certs are in, but they haven't been able to be unlocked yet. There's a couple other small ones, but there's not a lot. Most of the certs that we're planning on having in for launch are in the game right now.
Special ops type of stuff we made viable again. I'm thinking capturing behind enemy lines and stuff. Base benefits will probably help with that, and I know that's something you guys are working on, but any thoughts on folks who do that type of special ops stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we want to try to make that stuff as viable as we can, while not eroding the structure of kind of the game. A lot of times people were complaining that it felt like whack-a-mole when they were trying to chase around people and deal with when we had the adjacency rules not turned on. People were able to back cap in these other areas, and it sucked. One of the things now with the changes that we're making so that the base capture is based on actually standing on the point the entire time, should make it a little bit more of a, if this area behind enemy lines is actually being capped, you know that there's somebody there. It's not just like some random cloaker who left the scene, but he flipped the point, and you're going up, you're bringing people in to try to solve that problem, you know? And that might make it viable for us to turn on back capping, and I think that if we do, we'll probably do it for certain types of bases, but not all types of bases. So you'll still have something you can go do, but it won't necessarily mean that you can just totally disrupt the entire flow of how the continent battle works.
Totally, it was a problem before. It was way too easy, so definitely,
One of our biggest problems right now is lack of predictability.
Yeah.
People want to be able to set up defenses, mines, and turrets, and all that kind of stuff, and know that they're actually going to do something.
That's true.
So as much as we can to sort of refine that and make it so people understand that this is the flow that the battle's going to go in, I think is kind of more what we want to do. And on Esamir, I think that works pretty well because of the limited, or the more limited number of territories there. And we'll see how it feels on Amherst, because Amherst is sort of going to be sort of in between Indar and Esamir. But we'll go back and adjust Indar if we need to be able to make it flow a little bit more like that.
Okay. Anything cool you'd like to tell people about Amherst? Anything cool you'd like to tell people about Amherst that they may not have seen in the trailer?
Well, I mean, every time we make a new continent, we're learning a lot from the previous ones. When you're looking at the facilities that we have, they've been pretty much the same since before beta. So on an individual facility basis, if you're fighting in an AMP station, it doesn't feel like it's really grown or changed a significant amount from beta. But the continents do. Like Esamir flows quite a bit differently than Indar does, and the bases, like the terrain around the bases and what we can do with making the bases have kind of some different unique feeling to them is really cool. And I think Amherst is probably going to be the best example of that, because now we have two continents to learn from instead of just one. And we're actually really excited about being able to go and take some of that learning and retool some of the areas on Indar to be able to be a little bit cooler, like we've learned makes a better facility and a better continent.
Absolutely, yeah. It would be neat if you guys went back and did apply some of the stuff. I got to see a little bit of it, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to it. It looks like there's going to be a lot of infantry fighting and stuff on that continent, so it should be fun.
Yeah, we're actually trying to make it so that you kind of have almost a outer ring of an area around a base that makes it harder for vehicles to be able to get in and really participate as much in the base battle as they could on Indar and to a lesser extent Esamir.
Right.
So trying to make it so that the vehicle spam isn't like the number one way to go take over bases is one of the things that the level designers are trying to do with Amherst.
But what are some of the other outfit specializations we can expect?
Can't really go too much into detail about some of the outfit specializations. That stuff that we were talking about in the keynote is sort of long-term. And we haven't spent a lot of time trying to design out exactly what those are. We had some previous designs for the way we wanted the outfit specializations to go, but we're going to reevaluate almost every single one of those now. Based on, now we really know what people want in beta and what people are doing in beta, and previously we were designing it kind of in a vacuum. So I don't even want to set any expectations on what those kind of outfit benefits would be. But those outfit benefits are things that are going to be coming within the next year post-launch, not in a week or a month or anything like that. So we have plenty of time to figure that out and get it all working right.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this game, right? You didn't really know how anything was going to react, because it's the type of game where you actually need lots of people in order to be able to do something. So it wasn't until you got people in there you could start seeing how it was going to work. So
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, there's no precedent for our game at all. Even people look and they say, well, why couldn't we just have made it like PlanetSide 1? We couldn't have, because PlanetSide 1 had 1/5 of the number of people on a continent to support that we have. We couldn't have just set it up where we said, in between this base and this base, this is where you fight. Because 2,000 players can't fight in that kind of area. It doesn't work. We need to distribute it a little bit more. We could have never, ever, ever made it like PlanetSide 1. It just wouldn't have worked with the kind of game that we wanted to make. So there's not an FPS game in the world that we could have used to say, this is how we want it to be. We just couldn't do that.
Doesn't exist.
So I mean, to me, a lot of times we're looking at some of the feedback that we're getting, and people are saying, well, they could have just done it like PlanetSide 1. It's like, well, we couldn't have done it like PlanetSide 1 any more than we could have done it like Call of Duty or Unreal Tournament. There's just no way we could have made it like PlanetSide 1 with the kind of things that we were trying to do with the game. It's just different.
So logistics. Logistics is something that a lot of people feel like is missing from PlanetSide 2. I don't think it's totally missing personally, but a lot of people do. As a player myself, I feel like resources don't really feel tangible to me. It's just something you see tick up, and it doesn't necessarily feel like it means a whole lot. Obviously, you buy stuff with them, but for me, it almost feels like it should have more of a tangible feel to it, like supply lines and things of that nature. So Do you guys have any thoughts on that type of stuff?
Well, I mean, we do have supply lines, right? You don't get the resources unless they're connected, at least in a passive sense, to your warp gate.
Right.
So to that degree, they are there. You can cut people off from resources. We see people doing that tactically a lot to be able to shut people down from being able to get to certain types of resources. But really, the way that we can balance resources is two ways. We can either make them extremely restrictive. In other words, make it so that if you want to get a prowler, it costs 750 resources. So you go out there and you get those resources, and then you get one prowler, and you better take care of that fucking thing, because if it blows up, you need to go get 750 more resources.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do that, and there is argument on the team and within the team to be able to do that kind of thing, make it so that resources really are something where you're constantly looking at it and you feel like, okay, cool, I finally have 750, now I can go get my tank. But there's other people who look at PlanetSide and they say, you know what, I play this game to fly aircraft. That's what I play it for. If I can't fly a plane, I don't want to play the game. That's what I want to do.
Understandable.
So restricting them and saying, I'm sorry, dude, you need to go earn 750 resources before you can get a mosquito, doesn't work very well for those kind of players.
Right.
So we can either take the approach of, we want it to be extremely restrictive. We want it to be something where you feel like you build up resources, you've earned it, and then you unlock the ability to drive a tank, and it's like an upgrade for you, rather than the primary gameplay method, which is infantry game. Or we can make it to where it's kind of more of a rate limiter, and that's kind of what we've done right now. Resources are important to you because you can't just spam these vehicles without it, but they don't serve as a, oh man, now I have to go grind out all these resources before I can do the thing that I actually want to do in the game. In most cases, you can, if you take care of your vehicle, you could pretty much play in a vehicle the entire time. If you really want to fly a Mosquito and you're good at making sure that it doesn't get blown up, then you have a pretty good chance of maintaining Mosquitoes and not worrying too much about being mosquito-less, if that's the kind of gameplay that you want to have. And I mean, I think that it's a fine balance, and there's still a lot of discussion about whether we want to go a little bit more restrictive. Not a lot more restrictive, but a little bit more restrictive with that, so that the resources do feel like they are a little bit more impactful to you. But I'm not 100% sure which way I really fall on that yet. There's a lot of internal kind of debate about which way the right way is.
Absolutely. One more that kind of is just mine.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Galaxy pilot. That's kind of my main thing in the game right now. I feel like as a Galaxy pilot, I'm almost useless most of the time, because I have to drop off my guys and go hide now. I can't deploy. Spawn isn't really a big thing to me, but I can't deploy it and like be able to participate in the fight.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much stuck. I'm stuck having to sit in it and kind of just wait. Whereas before it was a little bit too good, but I was able to get out of it, and I could use, I could set up an engineer turret or something to help defend it, and help my squad, capture an outpost or whatever.
Right.
So do you guys plan on bringing back at least, not necessarily a spawn, but a deployable state of the galaxy, maybe buffed weapons or something like that when you deploy?
I'm not sure if we're going to do deploy, but we are going to bring back spawning.
Okay.
But the way that we're going to do it is it's going to be your squad can spawn on it. We're going to make it so that rather than your entire empire can spawn on it, your squad can spawn on it. To kind of have a trade-off for that, we're going to allow it to be spawned on when it's in flight.
Oh, okay.
So you can use it as sort of like a hot drop transport vehicle, and if you want to, you can just station your galaxy way up in the air, and guys can continually hot drop out of it, which I think is kind of a cool trade-off. And we'll see how that goes, but that's currently the direction that we're going with how we want to bring the galaxy spawning back into the game.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
We've always wanted to make sure that as a Galaxy pilot or as a Sunder driver or whatever, you have plenty of roles. And I think right now the Sunder has lots of different diverse roles that it can play. And we need to kind of bring that back to the Galaxy a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again, as always, for sitting down with us, and awesome answers, and look forward to what's coming out. And I know you guys are going to be busy over the next month or so.
A little bit.
Hopefully you get a little bit of sleep, right? Just a little bit.
A little bit of sleep, yeah.
But thank you again.
You bet, man. Of course.
Awesome. Yeah.